Hello and welcome to our webinar today. We have a presentation prepared as usual about our topic for today, which is online study programs in Germany. Today, that's going to mean online study programs from German universities because it's pretty difficult to travel to Germany right now because of COVID-19. But don't worry, I'm going to talk all about that today in our webinar. But it is a very special webinar we have today, actually, because we have two special guests from the Technical University of Kaiserslautern. If you don't know where that is, it's in, I don't want to say southwest of Germany because there is more southwest under Kaiserslautern, but it's definitely more west, closer to the French border. If you don't know where it is, again, it's not southwest, but yeah, we have two guest speakers from a master's program, and I'm really excited that you can have the chance to ask them questions directly. So I'm going to have a general presentation for you about online study programs, but then our guest speakers are going to have a more detailed presentation for you about their study program. I don't want to give anything away, so I will let them present. But first, I will tell you how our webinar will go. So if you are used to our webinars, and I hope you're used to Zoom, but as always, this is just an introduction. You can ask any questions you would like, and we will answer them. At the end of the hour, we will have a live Q&A session where we will look at some of the questions that you've sent to us throughout the hour and answer them live. However, you can feel free to send any questions throughout the presentation, even right now as I'm talking, using the Q&A function right underneath at the bottom of Zoom in the black bar. It's not going to be Q&A depending on the language you're using your Zoom in. It'll be in a different letters. And Annette, who is moderating with me today, I don't know where she is, she's going to be answering your questions in a Q&A section, more general ones. When it comes to our special guests, please stick to more specific questions directed towards the program, and they can take on those questions themselves. They'll answer your questions live as well. And we all, our guest speakers and ourselves, Annette and I, can use the chat to send you some important links. So even though you cannot, as a participant, use the chat, make sure you do pay attention to it because we will be sending some important links there for you. Before we get started today, I want to let Annette introduce herself a little bit. I'm based in Berlin, but she's living somewhere else in Germany, so maybe she can tell you about that. And then she's going to show you our study finder and show you how to search for online study programs yourself.
Yeah. Thanks, Jasmine, for the introduction. My name is Annette, and I am located in the south of Germany, namely in a small city or town. It's called Passau. It is known in Germany because it's kind of touristic, and we have a new university, so there are a lot of students, but actually it's really small. So we have 50,000 inhabitants, so it's really, really small. I'm doing my master's degree here, so I'm a German student. So this is why I'm also familiar with the topics of international students that are coming to Germany, because I'm studying international cultural and business studies, and I have a lot of courses together with international students. So your questions might be familiar to the questions I have heard before. As well, I used to work for half a year at the DAAD in Lima, which is the German Academic Exchange Service. So the biggest German organization that dedicates to all the topics related to student academic exchange for masters, bachelor's, PhD. Okay, so before we now start our webinar with the presentation, I'd like to show you our website, and therefore I will share my screen. Just hold on 1 second. Okay, now I guess you can see it. Okay, so this is the website of my German university. You can see it on the top, mygermanuniversity.com. Maybe Jasmine can also post the link in the chat. Thanks, Jasmine. Okay, so you have the possibility to change this website also in Spanish on the right side. Now it's in English, and you see our study finder at the beginning. So here more in detail. This is basically the core of this website and something really useful to you when you start like with the research and identifying programs you can study here in Germany. So therefore, let's do a quick example. Let's say you want to study what could be engineering. Okay. Then you see the results, and you also can filter for bachelor's degrees or masters. So usually we have more masters interested people with us in the webinar. So let's do the masters. And then since we do this online studying program webinar today, we have this special feature here that you can filter for different options. And there's one online courses. You have the option to choose online courses only, or the blended version. So let's say we were looking for online courses, and now you have only in your results those courses or programs you can study online. So this is really practical also for this webinar. Okay, so then what else can you find on our website? We have these webinars, and you will see all our upcoming webinars in the next weeks here. Here you see the online study programs in Germany. We are live now. Okay, last but not least, our article section. Here are different topics listed, and there's also a topic online studies. So here are two really extensive articles about online studies. So it might be that some of your questions were also, I also add the links to these articles, so you can read them after later. And in the end, we also have our COVID-19 update. You really see it when you open the website because it's that red banner. So here's everything about COVID, and the best thing, it's updated since there are a lot of changes. Okay, so okay, I have just one. Okay, Jasmine, I want to stop. Okay, now I stopped the screen, right? Okay,
yeah. Okay,
sorry.
You're back.
Okay, I will now look in the Q&A for the questions and keep an eye on the chat as well.
Okay, thanks so much, Annette.
Bye.
Okay, so as I said before, and since more of you have joined since the intro, I'll give a short one. So we have someone from IGU, Annette, who is moderating our webinar today. That means that any questions you're sending in the Q&A, which are more general about studying in Germany, she's going to be answering. You can't see the amount of people who are in this webinar, but just know that there are quite a few of you, about 50. So just be patient with Annette. She is getting to your questions. We also have two very special guest speakers. They're going to talk about online study programs. The focus will be on the Masters of Engineering, Software Engineering for Embedded Systems, and they're from the Technical University of Kaiserslautern. I will introduce them to you shortly after my presentation, but you can already start asking questions about the program in the Q&A. And I posted the link to the course website, which is in English, in the chat. So make sure you take a look at that program and start getting your questions ready. So a bit about myself, just really quick. My name is Jasmine, and I'm joining you from Berlin. I've been in Germany now for about 6 years. I came to Germany because I was awarded a research fellowship from the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, which is a very, it's a large German funding organization. They have a lot of funding for PhDs and postdocs, and also research awards. and I did a fellowship that was for more general, geared towards also undergrads and grads and postgrads. So I did research on cybersecurity and data protection studies at a think tank here in Berlin for a year and a half. And after that, I did a master's in international relations and global governance. And now I work to help students just like yourselves do the same thing I did and come to Germany and find a study program that's perfect for them. Of course, today's topic is on online study programs. Because of the pandemic, many students, even before the pandemic, many students are interested into online programs. But now, because of COVID-19, this is a more attractive option for those people who cannot currently travel because of travel restrictions due to the pandemic. I do have a slide about travel restrictions. I will touch on that. It is possible to come to Germany to study here, but at the moment, it is just very difficult and highly unlikely. So again, I will provide you with more details later. However, for study programs, if you're really eager to start your study program at a German university, you can do that remotely from your home country. You don't have to come to Germany to pursue an education at a German university. A frequent question that we do get from students who are considering studying an online degree is that, is it official and is it recognized and reputable? Is my degree going to have the same value as another master's or bachelor's degree that was done in person? And the answer is yes, absolutely. All of the degrees that are on all of the degree programs on our site, for example, are official and recognized, so you don't have to worry about that. Whenever you do get an online degree, there will be no specification on your diploma saying this was an online degree, unless maybe you go to a university that has online in the name. But there is no difference when you get a master's of engineering, whether it was an online program or not. It's going to have the same weight and the same value. So that's to put some students already at ease who want to pursue an online program but are not sure if it is for them. So no, you don't have to sacrifice any quality in your education to do an online program. Again, for those of you asking questions in the Q&A, please make sure you also ask the more specific questions geared towards the master's program, the Master's of Engineering program that we're going to have featured in the second half. But let me just give you a brief and very general presentation about online study programs in Germany. So just quickly, Annette did an introduction, but for those of you who maybe are joining our webinar for the first time and aren't sure what this organization is it fishy, is it reputable, can I trust what they're saying? So just to give you an introduction of what MyGU is. So My German University is, I'll explain what it is by telling you what it is not. So it's a little misleading, but we are not a university. We have more than 2,000 bachelor's and master's degree programs on our site. They're all English taught, meaning that they are from German universities, but that they are taught in English. However, we ourselves are not a university. We also have very detailed and comprehensive articles covering several topics about studying in Germany, like getting a visa or studying a specific topic like medicine or even scholarships. However, we are not a scholarship organization. So while we can direct you to different funding organizations, we ourselves do not have funding to give you. So if we are not a scholarship organization and we're not a university, what exactly are we? So we are a Hamburg-based startup, and we're financed by an award from the German government. And we have our platform, and we help students, and we have a team of expert counselors like myself and Annette, who are made up of maybe international students themselves or experts who have experience with, for example, the DAAD and Goethe Institute and working at German embassies abroad and so on. Our two co-founders used to be directors of DAAD offices abroad in Peru and Italy. And so we are pretty familiar with the German education bureaucracy and all of these important institutions that you need to be familiar with. Okay, so now let's get to our topic. My presentation will be maybe just under 10 minutes, and then we're going to take our attention to our feature program for today. So some main takeaways: what is an online course like? What's the structure, advantages and challenges? I didn't want to list it pros and cons because what might be a con for one student can be a pro for another. So we call this advantages and challenges, and the application process. So an online course, if you've never done one before, what exactly is it like? It's just like an in-person course, but it uses different mediums, of course, because you are not actually studying in person. So platforms like the one that we're communicating on now, having webinars and video conferences with platforms like Zoom, maybe projects can be multimedia and activities, but again, this varies depending on the degree program. Online chats and discussions versus more in-person talks, or having, again, a video conference and having a discussion this way. And if you're not familiar with Blackboard and Moodle, they are virtual classrooms. So it's a platform where you have an area for attendance and an area for assignments, and you can look at your past grades. And so it mimics or mirrors a classroom, but in an online setting. And interactive activities with classmates, or more independent and personalized tasks depending on the type of program. Some study programs have a lot more interaction with the other people who are enrolled, having group discussions online and group projects, and others can be more independent, which might be more attractive for someone maybe who has a family and has another job and wants to pursue maybe a part-time or even a full-time online study program. So again, you can see the details on course websites and see what's the right fit for you. There are fully online universities. So if you are looking through the study finder and you see, okay, this university has online in it, is it real? Is it fake? Yes, that's a real university. There are fully online universities which don't have maybe a campus that you visit in person, which is what that first bullet refers to, traditional brick and mortar universities, meaning that they are an actual building with a campus. So, structure of online programs, how do they overall function? So there's two main online course structures in Germany, and I assume also in countries abroad, of course, so you might already be familiar with these. The first one is online learning, and this is referring to more fully online learning, where you have maybe no interaction in person with any of your classmates or your instructors. So maybe you never meet them in person, just per video or using some platform like Zoom. And then there's blended learning programs. We have both of these programs on our study finder. Blended learning is exactly what it sounds like. It's partially in person and partially online. So online learning, as I said before, you can have group learning or independent learning. Group learning is modeled after more traditional in-person or in-classroom study programs. It's more interactive. And independent learning offers more flexibility, more individual assignments, and there's more limited interaction with other people in your course. Blended learning, again, exactly what it sounds like. It blends in classroom and online styles. Blended learning may not be as viable as an option for some students due to the current travel restrictions consequent to the pandemic. So be sure that you are aware of the travel restrictions and whether you can or cannot currently enter Germany. Annette, maybe if you can send in the chat the German Missions Abroad link and also the link to the Robert Koch Institute for the countries that currently can enter Germany. Annette will shortly share some links for you in the chat so you can see whether you can currently enter Germany. Again, it doesn't mean you can just come. There are a lot of different requirements you have to meet to be able to travel to Germany right now. It is not impossible, but it is very difficult. Annette will share some of that information in the chat if you are interested in a blended learning program, and maybe a mix of online and in-person style would be a better fit for you. Okay, so some advantages and challenges of online learning. First, I want to talk about advantages before I talk about challenges, because the challenges section is going to lead me to a topic that I know is a little more important to all of you. So some advantages of online learning is its flexibility. So for students who maybe have a job on the side, or maybe you have a family or children and you really want to pursue a study program, online study programs can provide an added layer of flexibility for you. It's most of them are learning at your own pace. Lessons and lectures can be repeated depending on the style of the study program, of course. However, there are some challenges to online study programs. This is also very true for people who maybe need some motivation and need the in-person interaction in order to be motivated to learn and study. So if you lack kind of incentive and self-discipline, an online program is going to be maybe a little bit tougher for you. There's also a limited selection of online programs available. Limited just means that, for example, we have more than 2,000 programs on the Study Finder, but a very small percentage of those will be online programs. You need to keep in mind that this does require a stable, strong internet connection, a computer, and so on. And the last point, which I want to follow up on in the next slide, is tuition. So online programs typically charge tuition. And I know Germany is well known for having public universities which generally do not charge tuition. Again, there are some exceptions with private universities and the state of Baden-Württemberg that charges tuition, but you can read about that on our website. I won't get too into detail about that today. But when it comes to online programs, they typically do charge tuition. So for students who are thinking, okay, well, if I can study for free in Germany, why would I do an online program which is going to charge me? And I want to address that here in this slide. So first, I want to show you the price. This is from a study program taken off of our website, which has a tuition fee of 1 year, and it's 6,200 euros. And if you add that to living costs, again, living costs are whatever the living costs you currently have. And so your total is 6,200 euros plus your living costs. And let's look at a free tuition, right? This tuition-free study program. So let's say you don't pay tuition fee. Great. What other living costs do you have? Well, there are some living costs. In order to come to Germany, you have to get a visa. And in order to get a visa, you have to have a blocked bank account. Not only do you have to have a blocked bank account, it has to have money in it. And the German government has come up with this magic amount of money where they have established that you have sufficient funds to provide for yourself for a 1-year period. And that amount is 10,236 euros for a 1-year period. You have to have that amount in this blocked bank account before you can get a visa, and that is the full amount. Additionally, students, when they come to Germany, these living costs, of course, go to your rent and your food and travel and so on. So maybe you're thinking, oh, but my tuition will be free. Well, yes, but you have to get a visa. Getting a visa also costs money. You have to have all of your documents officially notarized, and you have to get copies of official documents, which costs money. You have to have them officially translated by certified translators, which costs money. And the process is stressful, and right now with COVID-19, complicated or unlikely. So keep in mind, well, I don't want to pay maybe a marginal tuition fee. I say marginal, I know 6,200 euros is a lot, but I say marginal because I come from the US originally, and the US is pretty infamous for having high tuition fees. So for a 1-year period at a university, you can pay anywhere from $3,000 to $60,000 a year, depending on the degree type. So just keep in mind, that's what I mean when I say marginal. But again, just because online study programs may have tuition fees, don't let that deter you, because there are some really great online programs that you should take into consideration. And here at the bottom, you will see the sources for those study programs. Okay, I'm about done. I'll just quickly go through the application process. It's pretty standard. Something you don't have to worry about is the visa process. If you're studying at a remote program from your home country, then you actually don't have to worry about getting a visa. So that's something that's really practical for many students. I mean, without even taking into consideration the restrictions because of COVID-19, the process of getting a visa understandably stresses many students. It's difficult, it costs money, it takes a long time. There are a lot of different bureaucratic institutions that you have to consult with in order to do this step-by-step process. So first, you have to select a study program. And the second is you have to confirm eligibility requirements. And something very important that students should note here is that when you are searching for an online or just any study program, you need to keep in mind that even though a program says, well, for example, if you are interested in a master's program and it says you need to have a bachelor's program to be eligible, and you think, great, I have a bachelor's program, you have to be very careful to look specifically at the course modules that are required to be eligible, because depending on certain subjects, the focus may require you to have certain course modules in maybe chemistry. Let's say you are interested in a chemistry master's program, and in your bachelor's program you did something that was close but not exactly the same, and you don't have enough course modules, but you think, well, I have a bachelor's, that should be fine. Before you waste your time in applying for a program you're not eligible for and follow all of these processes, it is important that you consult the study program coordinator directly to discuss your eligibility, because you don't want to waste your time and resources, or theirs either. When it comes to course modules and how many hours you have per certain subject, this is very important, especially here in Germany, the way the education system is laid out. Just having a bachelor's if you're applying for a master's program, or just having whatever qualification you have. Let's say you have an IB diploma and you want to do a bachelor's in Germany. The IB diploma works just the same. If you have an IB diploma and you want to apply for a bachelor's, not only do you have to have certain marks, certain grades in your IB diploma, you also have to have certain hours or course modules or credits for that subject to be eligible. If not, you may have to do a 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘳𝘴𝘪𝘕. A 𝘱𝘱𝘱𝘪𝘥 is a 1-year schooling period in Germany where you come to Germany and improve your language skills, and you become familiar with the system here, the education system, and so on, in order to prepare you to enroll in a study program in Germany. So eligibility requirements. Don't just look at the degree and think, okay, have that done, check, I'm eligible. Look carefully at the course websites in detail. Don't just scroll through it and look at the bolded sections. Look and read in between the lines. Okay, collect required documents. Again, I put it in one nice little bullet, but it is probably the most time-consuming process of the entire application steps. Is collecting documents, official transcripts, officially translated documents, because you have to have them translated by certified translators. And again, what does that mean? Well, your university will tell you, don't worry. And make sure that you have everything signed and everything stamped and notarized that you're supposed to have. And finally, submitting your application package. So there are 2 ways that you apply to universities. Well, 3, but one of them we won't discuss today. That's for a later time. 2 main ways, and one is direct apply, and the second is using UniAssist. UniAssist is a national service provider which processes applications from international students in Germany. Many German universities use UniAssist to process their applications for international students. So make sure, if you don't know what it is, if you're not an EU student, make sure you familiarize yourself with UniAssist, because it is likely that you would have to apply through UniAssist. Okay. Let's see. So make sure you know the different ways that you have to apply, which is direct apply or UniAssist. And there are some special steps depending on the study program, but for online programs, you shouldn't have to worry about it. There's another application method, which is called 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘴, and it is for some medicine programs and also a very small amount of bachelor's programs. That's a special process, but again, it won't be as relevant for online study programs, so I won't get into detail about that today. Okay, there's the study finder, just so you know what it looks like. Annette showed it to you at the beginning. You can use our study finder for English top programs. For German top programs, if you want to study in German, you can do that, but we suggest you use 𝘱𝑢𝑙𝑐ompass, which, Annette, maybe if you can share the link to 𝘱𝑢𝑙𝑐ompass in the chat. Again, this is if you want to study for in German, and they have a comprehensive database of German taught programs. I would use our study finder for the English taught ones. It's much more comprehensive than anything else. And then I would use 𝘱𝑢𝑙𝑐ompass for the German taught ones. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, that about wraps it up. Just two more things, and then we'll move to our guest speakers. So just some quick tips. Application processes and deadlines vary among study programs. So make sure you look carefully at the course websites. Many students think it's just kind of German across Germany, that it's sort of the same. Like, how do I apply to a bachelor's? Well, what type of bachelor's? Is it in English? Is it in German? What university is it from? Which program in that university is it from? So even within the university, the application processes are not the same. Some programs might use UniAssist, others may not. So make sure you look carefully at the course websites and don't generalize the application process for the, different programs. Contact study coordinators directly for any questions about the application, and apply early to make sure you get everything in on time. And finally, COVID-19. So we do have a COVID-19 update on our page. As soon as you go to our My German University page, at the very top, you see this banner, which Annette showed you at the beginning, which gives you all of the information about what's happening in Germany with higher education system, with everyday life, travel restrictions. We link you to every university that we have on our study finder on that page as well, so you can go to their websites directly and look at any sort of special or more university-specific restrictions they might have to the pandemic. And we also host a COVID-19 webinar, but you can find all the information on the page. I don't want to get into detail to it today because our focus is online programs, but just know that study programs which take place in person or are blended, which is this mix of in-person and online, that means you would come to Germany and study here and take some of your classes here in person, and then stay online or stay at home or in your apartment or wherever you're living and do some of your courses online. These programs are possible right now, but it is a little more difficult to get a visa. Generally, the universities we've spoken to are happy to accept students that are able to come into the country. Ultimately, whether you can come into Germany right now is not up to the university or the study programs. So if you're asking them, oh, can you just let me come? It's not really up to them. They do have to issue you a certificate of presence, which is a certificate that states that your presence in Germany is mandatory for you to carry out that study program. Typically, the universities we've spoken to are pretty happy to give those to students who are able to travel, but ultimately it depends on whether the German consulate or mission abroad in your home country is open and whether they're processing visas. If they are not processing visas, check with a neighboring country, but there's nothing that we can do here, and there's nothing really that your universities here in Germany can do either. It really depends on what's happening with the pandemic and the cases in your home country, and if the consulate and or German mission abroad is open. But again, for more details, just look at our COVID-19 page. It goes into detail there. Okay, so that was a general overview. Now we have 10-15 minutes. We are very flexible. We have plenty of time. And I want to introduce you to our guest speakers. So the program they're going to talk about today, I did post it at the top. If you scroll to the top in the chat, maybe I can find it and post it again. So it's going to be for a Master's of Engineering. And it's actually specifically Sorry, I'm trying to find it so I can post it in the chat for all of you again. Perfect. There we go. Software engineering and embedded systems. And we have two guest speakers today, and they have a presentation for you as well. First, we have Dr. Juliane Brauch. She's the program manager at the Software Engineering for Embedded Systems at the Technical University of Kaiserslautern, or TU Kaiserslautern. And this program also is specifically part of the Distance and Independent Studies Center, or DISC. And we also have Dr. Andreas Morgenstern also with us today, who is going to assist Dr. Juliane Brauch in the discussion of the program today. So I'll hand it over to them. Feel free to ask questions throughout. They'll take questions throughout and at the end as well. And feel free to start.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine, for the nice introduction, and hello, everybody. Today, Andreas Morgenstern and I would like to give you a brief overview of the Distance and Independent Studies Center in Kaiserslautern and of one of our study programs. The Distance study program, Software Engineering. The Distance Study Program Software Engineering for Embedded Systems is offered by Technische Universität Kaiserslautern and the Distance and Independent Studies Center in cooperation with the Fraunhofer Institute for Experimental Software Engineering, and concludes with a master's degree. Here are some impressions from our university and from the Fraunhofer IISE. The Technische Universität Kaiserslautern is a technical and scientific research university with international visibility. Kaiserslautern is a center for science, is one of the most significant IT clusters in Europe. The Distance and Independent Studies Center is a central scientific institution of the Technische Universität Kaiserslautern. The DISC consists of a Center for Distance Learning and University Further Education, the Center for Self-Directed Learning, and the E-Teaching Service Center. The Center for Distance Learning and University Further Education is divided in 3 departments: the Human Resource Department, Management and Law, and Science and Engineering. We would be glad to give you some more detailed information. The Center for Distance Learning and University Further Education was founded in 1929 at the university. The DISC has over 25 years of experience in the design and completion implementation in the design and implementation of study programs with more than 14,000 graduates. Currently, there are approximately 4,200 students, and 80% of the students complete their studies successfully. We currently offer 17 master's programs, including 3 in English, 6 certificate programs, including 1 in English, and 4 certificate courses. All these programs are part-time and flexible. Here, an overview of the geographical distribution of our students, but also due to our 4 study programs in English language, the students live widely. So, but what exactly does it mean to study at DISC? What means distance study? At DISC, learning is made easy by methodical didactical preparation of the learning materials. There's a mix of self-study and on-campus phases. So the most courses are distance courses, and in general, at the end of each semester, the on-campus phases and the exams are in Kaiserslautern at a university or at a cooperating institution or university. That means the on-campus phases and the exams requires a physical attendance. We provide the learning material on our online learning platform, and some programs, for example, software engineering for embedded systems, offer additional remote assistance by our tutors, for example, in remote online sessions or via the forum on the online learning platform. So here you can see our 4 programs in English language. First, financial engineering. This master program is aimed at graduates of mathematics or subjects with significant proportions of mathematics who wish to acquire a detailed understanding of financial mathematics. This 6-semester program concludes with a Master of Science, and we offered this program since 2018. Nanobiotechnology. This certificate program is aimed at professionals in the field of engineering, natural science, medicine, and pharmacy who wish to acquire knowledge in nanostructure technology and biotechnology. We offer this 2-semester program since 2005. The master program, Master Blended Learning of Evaluation, in short MABEL, from the Department of Management and Law, is aimed at professionals and executives in the area of evaluation, at professionals who work on evaluation tasks in organizations, administrations or ministries, and at independent or self-employed consultants. This 4-semester program concludes with a Master of Arts, and we offer this program since 2018. Last but not least, the Master Distance Study Program Software Engineering for Embedded Systems, which is offered in cooperation with the Fraunhofer Institute for Experimental Software Engineering since 2008. This program is aimed at professionals in the field of software development, and Andreas Morgenstern will give you further information, and I would like to hand it over to you, Andreas.
Okay.
I have to stop.
So it should be at the top. I always have this problem with Zoom.
Yeah.
At the very top, when you put your mouse over, then it should let you stop screen.
Yesterday.
But actually, I can also do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Magic. No problem.
Sorry.
Everything is like online now and virtual because of COVID-19, and we're all getting used to it.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for the introduction. Before I dive into the topic, let me quickly introduce myself. So I'm Andreas Morgenstern. I studied computer science at the Technical University of Kaiserslautern already in the last century. Afterwards, I did my PhD and then joined the 𝘱𝘢𝘕𝘃. And yeah, then at some point of time, I decided to move to industry, going to John Deere and developing agricultural machines for 2 years. And now I'm back at 𝘱𝘢𝘕𝘃 because I somehow missed the research and also the teaching. So I already talked a little bit about 𝘱𝘢𝘕𝘃. So this is actually the picture of our institute that is located in Kaiserslautern. So our institute is now 25 years old, and we have around 150 employees, so full-time employees, researchers, but also administrative staff. But we also have 80 students that do some research for us or help us in doing research. Our overall budget is 12 million euros. Yeah. So, and Jasmin struggled a little bit in explaining where where Kaiserslautern is. So I thought, so let's add this slide here. So actually, Kaiserslautern is here in the southwest of Germany, and yeah, so this is where the university is and where our institute is. And Our institute is actually part of a bigger research organization, the Fraunhofer Society, which is one of the biggest organization for applied research in Europe. So overall, we've got more than 70 institutes with 27,000 employees. What makes Fraunhofer a little is our funding scheme. So we do not only do research for the government. So we've got this base funding from the government, and then we apply for some research projects. But additionally, we have a very close cooperation with the industry, meaning that 1/3 of our income usually comes directly from industry. Okay, so enough about us, who we are. Let's now talk about the study. So our study program is called Master of Embedded Software Engineering. So you might wonder what embedded software means. So actually, it's the software that is controlling a physical device. This could be an airplane or a car, a robot, or your smartphone. And so basically, embedded software is everywhere. In the automotive industry, you might, it's really interesting. So a modern car today is having about 70 processors, and 90% of the innovation is coming from the electronics and software. And actually, most of the development effort is today spent on software. And these are real numbers. So I told you that I've been at 𝘱𝘢𝘵𝘯𝘪𝘏, and this is really the amount of effort that is used for software. So that means, of course, there are also quite good chances for jobs in the software industry. So overall, we get more than 80,000 open IT positions in Germany. And the embedded software market, so when you look at the car supplier Bosch, this is actually the biggest employer for software developers in Germany. So somebody might expect that it's SAP, but in fact it's Bosch. They have around 30,000 software developers, and they want to grow. So 1 year ago, so at the end of 2019, they announced to hire 25,000 more software developers. And actually, this is still the case despite COVID-19. So maybe not 25,000, but so the job chances are still very good. So, and of course, so besides the job chances, there are also very interesting topics in embedded software, like smart factories, where everything is controlled in a factory by some machine learning algorithms, or autonomous cars. Also, maybe you know these videos from these Tesla cars that drive autonomously. And this is really fascinating, not only from the technical perspective, but also from the perspective how to make these things safe, so that they do not harm people. Yeah. So okay. So now let's dive a little bit into our study course. So this is an overview of the study content. So in the first semester, we basically give some introduction to software engineering and what makes the software development for embedded systems special. And additionally, you get an introduction to the project management. The second semester, I would say, is the most important part. So we teach you how to come up with good requirements, because this is the basis for an successful project. Then we tell you in this course software architecture for embedded systems, how to design your software. And this is usually called the software architecture. And once you know that, so how to do good requirements and how to design your software good, another part of this semester 2 is about how to actually test your software. So in this software quality assurance, this is the topic that is done there. The last part of semester 2 is on software product lines engineering. So product line engineering means when you look at the car manufacturer, for example, at Volkswagen, then the Golf and the Polo share a lot of software, and this is how to make that efficiently. And so the third semester actually is going then deep into embedded software development. So we teach you, for example, how to do software development with MATLAB Simulink, and then also how to ensure the safety of your system in this dependability engineering course. And finally, when you've done all that, there will be the master thesis. Okay, so besides these online phases, so where you learn the content of the courses by yourself with the help of some tutors, we also have these on-campus phases where you come to Kaiserslautern and you dive deeper into the topics you've learned before. So we've got these 3 phases with exams at the end of each phases, where you will basically talk with Fraunhofer experts, discuss with Fraunhofer experts, and yeah, usually the students really like that the most. So discussing with people and then getting to know some insights from the industry, and so this is really interesting also for us as the lecturers. So I also usually do these on-campus phases of software architecture, for example, and then I also enjoy having these discussions with the students. Okay, as an overview, so our study program, when you successfully finish it, you will get a Master of Engineering after 4 years. So it's a study program with a tuition fee of around €2,000 per semester, plus an additional fee for the master thesis, and you can start it in every year in October. What is important for you to know is that everything is completely in English, so you do not have to learn German or to apply for this program. So everything is in English. So who are we aiming at? Well, aiming at professionals that work in software development. So we aim at people that already have a graduate, meaning usually a bachelor degree from disciplines like electrical, mechanical, or industrial engineering, or IT professionals, or mathematicians or physicists. Additional to this, to graduate, you have to have work experience of 2 years in software development. And of course, you have to have enough knowledge of English. Okay, yeah, to sum up, so we have Juliane and me, we've presented to you a distance study program that you can study from your home. So it's easy to actually do that when you have a family. You can also do it while you work. So it's not a full-time job; it's a half-time job. Yeah, and as already said, it's a cooperation between the Technical University of Kaiserslautern and us at 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘯𝘨. Yeah, so if you want to know more about our programs, then you can have a look at these websites. Yeah. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation. We do have about 5 minutes left for some questions. I saw that there were a few questions that were directed specifically towards the study program. So let me get to those first. Someone says thank you to both of you. Okay, so Julie, we have a question from Julie who asks, for the Masters in Embedded Software Engineering, can you discuss again the requirements of course modules to be eligible? I think that means for how many, what you studied previously. So of course you would need a bachelor's in a similar topic to be eligible, but if you could discuss the eligibility requirements, I know you covered that, but just once more.
Juliane, can you elaborate on that?
So I think here in the target group, it's really it's nice to understand. First, you need a first degree, bachelor or a master, and it's important. It's, for example, in degree in engineering or computer scientist, mathematics, but then it's important that you have 2 years work experience after the first degree. And another requirement to study is a proof in English. So you have to B2, or your first study have to be in English, or your, yeah, I think this is okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I think what's important then to keep in mind is the 2 years of work experience. Yeah. Perfect. Yes. There's another question for either one of you who wants to answer. It says, is there any assistance with job placement as part of the Masters in Embedded Software Engineering program?
No, so usually the mode is that people that want to apply for that program, they already have a job somewhere, right? And often it's also the case that their employee taking the tuition fees, right? So this is how it's supposed to be, or most of our students do it like that.
Okay. Another question I see here is, how international is this master's program? Are there international students since it is in English, or less so?
So from my experience, it's usually very international. So at least half of or 2/3 of the students are really from abroad. So it's more people from foreign countries than from Germany.
Okay. Another question asking, what are the minimum GPA requirements to be considered from the previous degree? Are there minimum GPA requirements, or does it just vary?
That's a question. Juliane, do you know about minimum requirements?
What I have to ask, what is GPA?
Grade point average. So like in Germany, 1 is the best and 4 or 5 is like not so amazing, right? And so the minimum to be eligible from your previous degree. Of course, international students, note you do have to convert it to the German system, and that has GPA calculators. Maybe you can put them in the chat. So if there is a minimum, some programs don't have that, but if there is one.
No. Sorry, no, but there is no minimum.
Yeah, I think it typically varies because if you have a minimum, I mean, there's some students who have some crazy circumstances, and if they can like explain their, if it was like maybe not the highest grades from their previous degree, a lot of universities, from what I know, take everything into consideration and not just a grade. But again, from some countries, the grade is really important. And so, yeah, that's fine. But again, that's good to know. There's no minimum GPA requirement, but they're going to take your full application package into consideration and make sure you have, again, the eligibility requirements is very important here, which you see on your screen now. I see another question here. It says, this question is from Abdullah. It says, I am on a 4-year engineering course. No, there was a different question more specifically. Asking about, oh, now it's gone, but oh, actually that was just, it was a question about specifically after the program, I think it was job prospects. Maybe that was the same question which you already talked about. But I was wondering actually if you could return to, I think you had a slide about job prospects upon completing the degree. If you could return to this, because some of the students who asked about job placement and things like this would be relevant. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and again, as Dr. Morgenstern said before in the presentation, this is a booming industry right now. So you have a lot of job prospects and opportunities. I mean, not only in Germany, but I mean, within the EU, of course. But just the fact that we're communicating virtually, for example, is something to take into consideration, and having all of the relevant skills with this master's program are going to be useful for you when it comes to job placement and so on. Something also important to note for international students is when you graduate from a German university, you're eligible to apply for an 18-month visa to come to Germany and search for a job within your field. It has to be within your field. It's very specific, but you do have the opportunity to come to Germany and find a job that's in your field after you graduate from a German university. And that's, you're eligible to do that no matter the program or university. Okay. And actually, I think we got through all of the questions. So if there is nothing else, is there anything else that you wanted to cover today, or is that all? Good? Okay, perfect. There was, I don't know where it went. Yeah, an anonymous attendee sent a thank you. It says to Dr. Brauch and Morgenstern. So thank you so much for your presentation. Again, the link to the master's program is in the chat. And we also linked to the course website, and Dr. Morgenstern also linked again. We linked it 3 times. Some of you already had it open and asked us questions about it. So please take a look at the master's program. If you have any questions specifically about the program, I urge you to look at the contact details that's directly on the website. So please make sure you direct any questions about the program to them. If we get them ourselves, we will forward them. But thank you so much, Dr. Morgenstern. Thank you so much, Dr. Brauch. We appreciate your time and for having this presentation with us today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to present here.
Yeah, great. Thank you. But if there's nothing else, then I'll go ahead and end the webinar. And just to say thank you again to all of our participants. I see there's some questions there. Feel free to send them to our info email or directly to the contact page of the master's program. Have a great day or evening, wherever. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.